So welcome back to Is My Acne Hormonal? My name is Christina and I am the Holistic Skin Detective. One of the biggest misconceptions I see is that acne is simply a skin problem. And after more than 20 years working with people experiencing acne, rosacea, and chronic skin inflammation, I'm not convinced that that's the whole story. I think our skin is much more like a reporter. It quietly reflects what's happening inside the body. Sometimes it's hormones, sometimes it's digestion, sometimes it's stress, and sometimes it's our environment. And sometimes I think it's asking us to look at something much more fundamental: food. And I'm not talking about calories or dieting or weight loss. I'm talking about what we are actually feeding ourselves. Welcome to the Holistic Skin Detective. My name is Christina and I am a holistic skin health practitioner with 20 years experience in helping people find natural solutions to their skin woes. And I'm the creator of the KDC Skin Typing Framework. If you're here, you're probably curious about how to tackle hormonal acne from a truly holistic angle. In each episode, we'll explore the deeper connections between your skin, your hormones, and your environment, because healthy skin is so much more than just the surface. So before we dive into today's topic, if you haven't yet discovered your own KDC skin type, you can find a link in the show notes to learn more. And remember, while we explore holistic approaches here, it's always a good idea to have your skin first checked by a qualified medical professional. Now let's get into the heart of today's episode. So what is food? If I asked you to picture food, what comes to mind? Would you imagine a supermarket, a takeaway shop, protein bar, or would you picture a vegetable garden, a fruit tree, a fisherman bringing in today's catch, or fresh vegetables sitting on a kitchen bench? It's an interesting question because somewhere along the way, our idea of what food actually is has changed. Let's talk about whole foods. Nutrition textbooks begin with something called whole foods. These include vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts and seeds, milk, eggs, seafood, fresh meat and poultry, and those foods that resemble where they came from. So if someone walked through a vegetable garden or visited a local butcher or collected eggs from their barnyard chickens, they would recognize the source. And perhaps that's important because every one of these foods provides the raw materials that our bodies need to build us. So what does it take for our bodies to keep maintaining us as the physical human beings that we are? Every second of every day, your body is rebuilding itself. Old skin cells are replaced. Collagen is produced. Hormones are made. Muscle fibers repair after exercise. Bones continually remodel themselves. The lining of your gut renews itself. Even your immune cells are constantly being replaced. And your body is like an enormous construction site operating 24 hours a day. And every meal delivers those building materials. So proteins become amino acids, carbohydrates become glucose, fats become fatty acids, vitamins and minerals become those little tiny helpers that allow thousands of chemical reactions to happen every single minute. And your body takes these familiar building blocks, sorts them out, transports them, and delivers them to exactly where your body is needing repair. It's an extraordinary process. Now, here's something that often surprises people. Almost every food we eat has been processed in some way. Frozen vegetables, processed. Cheese, processed. Bread, processed. Milk, processed. Yogurt, processed. Processing simply means we've changed the original food. Sometimes that's incredibly beneficial. Freezing vegetables, for example, can lock in some of those nutrients. Pasteurizing milk improves food safety. Making yogurt introduces beneficial bacteria. Smoking salmon helps to preserve it. So processing itself isn't the problem in most cases. The question is, though, how far have we taken it? Let's talk about ultra-processed foods. Now imagine walking into the supermarket. One aisle is filled with vegetables, another with fresh fruit, and at the end of the fresh veggie section is usually the meat and the seafood. Then you turn the corner and there's rows and rows of brightly coloured packets, foods designed to last for months, highly flavoured, highly marketed, ready to eat, often sold in large portions. This is where we begin talking about ultra processed foods. Unlike whole foods, these products are often made from ingredients extracted from foods rather than the foods themselves. So we're talking refined starches or highly refined oils, added sugars, protein isolates, flavorings, colorings, emulsifiers, stabilizers, ingredients that most of us wouldn't normally use in our own kitchens. Think soft drinks, corn chips, many packaged snack foods, confectionery products, some breakfast cereals, some ready made meals. They're designed to be convenient and affordable and extremely enjoyable to eat, and often difficult to stop eating. Now, this is where I become curious. Our bodies evolved over hundreds of thousands of years eating foods that looked very different from much of today's supermarket shelves. So, what happens when a majority of our calories begin coming from foods our great grandparents barely recognized? Researchers have been asking this question too. Large population studies have found that people who consume more ultra processed foods also tend to have a higher rate of obesity, metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, depression, irritable bowel syndrome, frailty, and certain cancers. Now, that doesn't automatically prove that ultra processed foods directly cause these conditions. Health is far more complicated than that. But I think it gives us something really incredibly valuable, a reason to become curious. So, over the years, I've found myself wondering something. Whole foods arrive in our body with instructions. Our bodies just know what to do with them. They know how to break them apart, how to sort them, how to transport them. And then those transported molecules help to rebuild skin, repair tissue, produce collagen, support hormones, fuel the immune system. It's a beautifully elegant process. But ultra processed foods are different. They arrive in combinations of ingredients that really exist together in nature. They're not necessarily poisonous, but they are different. And I can't help wondering, does the body spend more time trying to interpret these foods than it does using them to build health? I don't have the answer, but I think it's a question worth asking. So, how does this all come back to the skin? One thing that I've constantly observed over more than 20 years is that the skin really exists in isolation. When the body is under stress, the skin often joins the conversation. Could nutrition be one of those contributors? Possibly. Could the quality of those building materials influence how well our skin repairs itself? I think that is another worthwhile question because our skin doesn't simply react, it's communicating. And maybe our job isn't to silence it with quick fixes, but to understand what it has been trying to tell us all along. So, one final question I'd like to leave you with isn't about processed food, it's about us. How do we choose foods that leave us feeling worse? Is it time, stress, cost, convenience, marketing, comfort, trauma, habit, emotional eating? I don't think there's one answer. I think every one of us has our own story, and understanding that story may be just as important as understanding nutrition itself. So, there's another question that I'd love us all to think about. What could each of us do to make whole food more available? Could we grow herbs on our windowsill, share surplus fruit with a neighbour, plant a vegetable garden, support local growers, teach children how to cook, or create community gardens? Because I genuinely believe many of the answers to our future health aren't hidden inside another expensive supplement. They're growing quietly in healthy soil. And sometimes they're already waiting for us in our own backyards. So, if today's episode has made you curious about understanding what your own skin is trying to tell you, You'll find my online programs at The Holistic Skin Detective. Together, we'll explore your unique acne breakout pattern and learn how your body, your environment, and your daily exposures may all be contributing to your skin story, because no two people have the same skin and no two people have the same journey. So until next time, stay curious, because your skin might just be asking better questions than you've been taught to answer.